Hi, welcome to another episode of Kaduna Peace Promotion and Advocate Project. My name is Aliyu Alasan Kutiji, the communication lead at the Andite community, and today's topic is the impact of social media in peace building. And having with me today Ms. Aduku Sabirah, and a fellow of Conflict Lab and also Institute of Economic and Peace. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Can you just give us a little introduction about you?
Okay, I'm a data analyst. I'm also interested in conflict and policy advocacy. I'm one of the research and policy advocate fellows with Conflict Lab, and I'm also an ambassador at Institute for Economics and Peace.
Okay, right. Okay, today we'll be looking at the impact of social media in peace building. So, relatively, over the years, or should I say, over a decade, the impact of social media has also, amplified the issue related to peace building, conflict within Kaduna and Nigeria as well. And with the rise of this social media or conflict within the social media has instigated conflict within our society. And how do you relatively see how we can, leverage the social media, most especially the Twitter, Facebook, to fundamentally alter the nature of conflicts and peace building in the Kaduna or maybe Nigeria at large?
Okay, social media plays a huge role in terms of conflict and peace building. I believe it has completely changed the game when it comes to conflict and peace building in Nigeria and in the world as a whole, because it gives everyone an opportunity to speak. It gives everyone, just like giving everybody a speaker and a spotlight, because it can fall into the hands of a bad person or a good person, because you decide what you want to use it for. You can use it for your own personal gain. And that's how I think social media has done a lot. And let me even cite an example of the Arab Spring, that's the political conflict that happened in 2010, I think. So in the Egyptian, Tunisia, and Syria, yes. So during this time, when they were having these conflicts, they posted a lot of things online just for people to be aware of what is happening. And while they were doing this, the double-edged sword was that the government will be able to monitor these activists, and that's like putting them at risk. So they were able to threaten them and reach out to them. So this also made them not to be able to like protest peacefully. It's like diminishing their freedom of speech. So the thing with social media is that you can actually just advocate for things online, but it's putting you at risk because the government officials can see you. And a tool that was now meant to be for freedom of speech is now like used for control, for these people to observe your movement and know what your plans are. If you plan for protest, they know where you're going to do that and stuff like that. Also, the Ukrainian and Russian war, social media has already given us the opportunity to see what is happening, because it's just like everybody around the world was given an opportunity to see what is happening. So the war wasn't just happening in Ukraine and Russia. It was basically happening online. Like you don't need to be there to know what is happening, because of the way social media made it easy for us to see these things. But the problem is that we do not really know the difference between a propaganda, a staged event, and how yes. So that's where the issue stems from. So because of this, some of us would believe whatever we see online without even trying to decipher if this is true or if this is false. So yes, so I think it also has its own good side. It has altered it in a good way, like the NSAS. We all know what happened since it happened in Nigeria, because the youth were able to advocate about how the police were like treating them in a violent way, and were able to bring government to its toes and also encourage peaceful protests. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Speaking of which, I think last year or 2024, around August, September, the end bad governance protest, bring a turn down of how shall I say it, a bit of conflict within around Nigeria, where we've seen mostly youth taking it to another level, issue pressing government, demanding for accountability towards good governance, and so on and so forth. And we have seen how a spray of, like you earlier said, propaganda, this misinformation, and also disinformation through using this social media. You understand, to contribute to escalation of conflict, and which also hinder the peace building effort, by the militaries and the security agencies. Okay, these are actually one of, to me, one of the things that actually, I I looked into and see, wow, what is really our problem in this country, where the youth actually, somebody from his comfort zone, influencing conflict, influencing insecurity, using social media, passing information which are not true. Like we earlier said that when you saw something online, you try as much as possible to start to identify, okay, is this really true?
Yes.
Actually, what is the source of this information, and so on and so forth. Social media actually have been used to, not even for decades, have been used to, spread misinformation and disinformation. How do you see, or how can we do, to amplify this issue and try to mitigate, using the social media to mitigate conflict, bringing down the issue of insecurity, by amplifying the use of social media? You just share anything about that?
Okay, I believe that the first thing people need to know about this misinformation is to be like digital literate, because most people lack digital literacy. They don't really know how to like separate false news from the news that is true. And that is one thing we need to inculcate in youths, because they are part of the reason why most of this misinformation even spread faster. Somebody might just be looking for content, a lot of followers, and decide to just propagate any news they see to the favor of them without really realizing the disadvantage of what they just did. So actually, I would say that digital literacy is very important, and as well, I think the social media platforms also should have a role to play when it comes to this, because as much as they have AI algorithms that watch and prevent hate speeches in the social media platforms, it's not enough. Sometimes they need to be humans need to be involved. Yes, need to intervene. Yes, they have to be human beings in the context, because they can really understand what this situation is about. AI might miss a lot of things. If not, if this AI were really working, if these AI algorithms really work, we wouldn't have been seeing hate speeches promotion in this social media platform. I believe they can actually do that without preventing or hindering people from freedom of speech, because it's a two-way thing. If they do it too much, it will be as if people that use the social media platform doesn't have the right to express themselves in a way that they should. So I believe that they should do better in that aspect. And also, in terms of the government, they also have a role to play. They should have a clear rules and regulation that when you exceed or when you go extreme, they should be penalized for this. So I believe that government also have a role to play. These three people, the influencers and the social media, the platform owners, and also the government.
Okay. Yeah, that's nice. When you talked about individuals, government also, and I don't know if I'm free to add CSOs, civil society organizations, having to come in, being an actor of peace, to make their own contributions, and nevertheless, before we get to the individual aspect, sorry, government aspect, organizational aspect, we as individual aspect, we also have a very huge role to play.
Definitely.
When I saw an information, I can easily identify, as human nature, I can easily identify that this is misinformation. Actually, this information is not accurate, is not correct. And what can I do? I know the best thing I can do is the social media handle. So, and a lot of the social media handle has functions that you can, say, okay, I'm reporting this post, or I'm reporting this tweet.
Yes.
Like this tweet is a form of misinformation, and it can lead to a conflict, and so on and so forth. So I think, to me, when individuals try to be identifying misinformation and try to report to the, those apps. So I think the government needs to, those apps also need to, I know most apps are incorporated with AI, the artificial intelligence, to be able to, uh, on themselves, dig out informations, dig out to verify if it is a disinformation or misinformation, And I know, like you earlier said, the government have a role to play, So actually, me, I'm on my own part, I'm seeing it as a way where, government needs to put sanction to that.
Yes, yes.
So sometimes when you put sanction to, stuff like this, and you also have a role to play, quickly quickly identifying that there is a spray of information and so on and so forth. But because I think there is a research I was doing, I was taking an online course, data gathering and so on and so forth. I saw um, an international, organization, making writing a paper towards, government policies and so on and so forth, where if a policy is breached, not even by sanctioning, rather by, you can sanction somebody and say, okay, you can't operate for so, you have to pay so amount. You have to like make it bold and say, okay, this is the law. If you do this, we are shutting you guys down forever.
Yes.
I think when you make a decisive
Setting clear rules and regulations.
Sometimes it hinder a lot to addressing things like that. So but speaking of also, like, as we keep talking about peace building, we keep talking about addressing conflict and so on and so forth. Sometimes the way we do it, the technical way we do it is actually another way to look into, and looking at the community where we come in, there are some things that, like, peace is something that we talk about every day. We look into it, we try to, incorporate it from children, youth growing up, and also elderly people, we live in a day where, misinformation are being even sold on social media and stuff like that. So how can we, like, in the community, or how can we as a community, try to, take control over, this information, and try to see, okay, what ethical way can we use to address those issues?
Okay. As a community, I believe that some of us are not equal. We have people that are misinformed and those that are very well informed. So I believe if you are in a situation where you see somebody doing the wrong thing, it will only be right for you to correct that person, knowing that you have more knowledge than that person. So it's just to enlighten them on what is really going on, because not everybody really have access to this information. Most people just like listen to what everyone is saying around them and believe that they are well informed. So if you are in a situation where you have access to that person, you can just quickly enlighten them, like at a community level, because not everybody is like rich enough to afford, what's going on in Nigeria, to afford all these information systems. Some people are not even on all these social media platforms. So the best thing we can do for those kind of people is just enlighten them whenever we see that they are like deviating from the right information.
Okay, yeah, talking about enlightenment, and creating an awareness on peace building and so on and so forth. I was looking at a role, or should I say, when we talk about community, we said, create awareness and so on and so forth. Okay, not even, through the social media, we have radio stations, we have the Nigerian National Orientation Agency, I don't know, and I think they are mandated with issues like this, where they will come, using all sorts of platform, like the radio platform, the television platform, like you earlier said. Okay, a lot of people who just sit down, read something from online, whether it's misinformation or disinformation, they tend to find people who are illiterate to social media, trying to pass this information to them, and before you know it, escalate and lead to something else. So when you talk about misinformation and disinformation, those are factors, or should I say elements or actors that lead to actually conflict. But something that is missing also is hate speech, because I love somebody, or I admire somebody, or I look into somebody, and I saw somebody making abusive comments towards the person. I find it very hateful and something like that. And also those things are things that actually also lead to conflict, lead to unwanted yeah, so like I said, yeah, unwanted conflict and so on and so forth. When we as community took the responsibility to have a peaceful community, that's a huge commitment, you know. And as a human factor, also, we also need to not like look beyond the social media. We need to
We
like
are usually biased in the way we see things.
thank you so much. So we need to like look at it at in a wider open area
Yeah,
where
yes.
we our immediate family, our immediate friend. You say, okay, guys, what are we discussing today? When we have time, okay, let's say, the world is changing. There is issue of insecurity. There is issue of phone hacking and so on and so forth and the issue. What can we do? Sometimes I do sit with my friends, we try to have this conversation around, yeah, we say, you need to stop, going out in the night because of these guys and those things. So but we know that community is instigated with all of these issues around that. And as leaders, community leaders, religious leaders, having a huge role to play in addressing conflict issues or religious issues, so that relates also, or maybe will contribute to insecurity. And when you talk about peace building, you have to bring those factors in. You have to bring those actors also in. Okay, how do you see? Maybe should I say we have more religious leaders being on the social platform. They will see a misinformation. They will see a role where people actually making hate speech, and they don't discuss those things at the mosques. They don't discuss these bring these things in the church. Do you think having them sharing more light on this, educating their followers on
Yeah.
this, can actually promote peace and so on and so forth?
Yes, I think they also have a very, very huge role to play because in terms of religious conflicts or other type of conflict, but mainly the religious conflict, I believe that is the time for these religious leaders to really play their role well in mitigating this conflict because they should organize sermons and tell people, quote the holy books and tell them why they shouldn't be doing this and why every religion has a part to play in the world and why we are all different. We are different because we should learn from each other. It's even written in the Quran, but I don't want to delve into it. So I think social media itself can be used as a good platform to advocate for peace. It just depending on how we do it and how we see it. Because because some time ago there was a situation where the three things mainly that people have to understand when it comes to like using social media to advocate for things. First of all, it's privacy. Like if you want to use social media, because right now we all know that social media platforms, the information there really spread even faster than what we have on our traditional media. People don't really watch televisions,
And
listen to radio. This
radios,
21st century, everything is going like faster than we can keep up with. So we just have to learn how to keep up with it. So some of the three things that we have to consider is privacy. Like if you really want to use it for peace building, we have to consider privacy and not share everything online because you don't know your opposition might be looking at what you are doing and it can harm you in a way. And you also have to consider the fact that even though people are there advocating for peace, there's something about social media always propagating the loudest. And always the loudest person is not always the person with a constructive
mindset actually.
Yes, so the people that are even advocating for peace, according to the algorithm, it wouldn't reach most of the people because they don't have so many followers. So you have to even leverage on these people that have impact on a lot of people before we can actually use social media in a good way. Because some of these people, they have like TikTok just promotes their content so well that it totally outshadow or outperforms the people that are really doing the peace advocacy, people that really want to speak up and advocate for peace. And we also have the ethical aspect, like to what extent are we going to protect people and prevent them from just speaking or saying anything on social media without them feeling like they're infringing on their personal freedom of speech and stuff like that. So those are some of the things you have to consider if you are going to use social media because it can bridge the gap, and it can divide people faster than you can even think of. So it's a very good platform, but a lot of thinking has to, and strategy has to be put into leveraging it for a very, very good aspect.
Yeah, I think I will also, let me not cut you short. I will agree with you on that. There is actually a connection between actually the using the social media platform, in, like you said, building peace dialogue and so on and so forth. And I think the agency starting with Peace in Kaduna is the Kaduna State Peace Promotion Commission, or slash Peace Kaduna State Peace Commission, and I think they have done so much, in collecting data, and as part of the KADPAP, project. Was to paid advocacy to these agencies and try to see, okay, what role, can we as citizens, come in with support actually from Leap African and Nigerian Youth Future Fund, what role we have our own settings. Okay, what role are we, if they seem to us that we can play, in building the dialogue, the peace, within our community and so on and so forth. We try to say, okay, a part of the project is to, to train youth we across the local government in Kaduna. They should like go back to their community, meet the agents there, meet the relevant stakeholders there, discuss peace. It's our community. If we don't make it peaceful, nobody else will.
Definitely.
And actually, they gave us data, very significant data, useful data. We had a discussion, a variable data that we need to, make the KADPAP project actually, successfully. We came to understand that most, like 70 to 80% of this issue of insecurity actually are instigated. They may have their origin, they may be there for so long, but hate speech, misinformation and disinformation are actually what actually, led to conflict and in unstable peace within Kaduna State. And God so kind, they have done so much, in trying to, translate that data, make useful of the data to try to bring peace within Kaduna. And we have seen improvement in
Definitely a lot of improvement.
Yeah, actually. But sometimes when you are closing one door, the other door is opening. And when a new door is opening, it's coming with a different form, where you have to now
think
sit
of
down,
different solutions to that
thank you,
problem.
to try to address the issues. So I think Ms. Sabirah, you actually did very well today on the show. And I'm sorry to say this brings us to the end of today's show. And good to have you. And I hope when we call next time, you'll be available for us.
Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate, and I'm really happy about the work KADPAP has been doing.